But the reshuffle wasn't all about women. There was a political character too, and in his column this week, Charles Moore says it wasn't the most auspicious one. In his words, this must be the worst reshuffle since Mrs. Thatcher demoted Geoffrey Howe in 1989. Charles is with me now. Charles, you've seen a few reshuffles in your time. What made this one stand out?
Well, I thought that it was the intention of it was to punish bravery, which is a mistake. And no doubt there's an electoral reason for that, that people who've caused controversy now want to quieten them down in the coming election. But essentially, if you run a department, the good ministers are the people who try to do something and do something and have an aim. And essentially those are the people who Cameron penalised, most notably Owen Paterson, whom he sacked, and Michael Gove, whom he demoted. And they were very unusual in this government in having a really clear agenda that they've been trying to push through. And it's precisely because of that that they were done down. And of course that's very bad for government. And I would have thought actually it's not even good electorally, because it's a mark of weakness. You're giving in. There are very strong, fierce opponents of these people, and they're gloating, of course.
But David Cameron would argue that for everything there's a season. There's a time to reform, a time to fight, then there's a time to consolidate and focus on your key messages ahead of an election. And the greatest threat to these reforms is a Labour government that would reverse them.
Well, yes, but it seems to go against the message that the government have been putting forward recently, which seemed to me a very strong, simple message, which is our policy has been unpopular, but essentially they're working. The time is on their side, they're coming right, the economy is coming right, and we are a better lot of people and policies than our opponents. Very clear, basic message. So if you throw up, to use the metaphor of cards, because we talk about a reshuffle, if you throw the pack in the air and you then sort of chuck out quite a lot, you're saying an opposite message. You're saying, it's all been pretty dingy, and now it's got to be different. And I don't think that's believable. And I also think it's unnecessary. I don't see I mean, by all means, promote good women. That's well overdue. But I don't see the need to fasten on the people who've been the boldest and punish them.
Right, but the women point. I mean, politics that is about optics. You may lament the fact, but it's still a factor.
Well, it's certainly a factor, yes.
Right, and David Cameron does have a problem insofar as the Conservative Party's brand is still rather tarnished. People don't quite like the idea of voting Tory. They tend not to admit to pollsters that they do. So surely, in order to sell the Tory message, he does need to make the face more acceptable. And this is just simply part of winning elections.
Well, how credible is it, I would ask. You see, if you keep on saying how bad white males are, and sort of public school boys and Southerners and all the rest of it, how credibly can you say that if you are one of them, which David Cameron is, and George Osborne's another, and if you keep saying, women, 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 but actually the heart of this government has no women in it whatever. There are some women in important jobs, but the actual control of the government, the management of the government, the strategy, the politics, the cabal who sits there and decides everything, are 100% male, and that remains the case. So I think this can be seen to be fundamentally untrue, this message, and people don't like fundamentally untrue messages. So I think people think these are tokens, these are signs of weakness because you feel bad about what you are, and yet you're not really answering the point that's being made. So the argument of a party in government as opposed to a party coming into government is we know what we're doing and we do it better than the others, and we can prove results. And these are simple, clear incumbency arguments, and it seems to me that's what they should develop, not undermine.
But if you are David Cameron, you focus on the messages that are working. The economy message that seems to be working is picking up right now. And you've even got welfare, which is very controversial but hugely popular. Then you've got education, where it's more difficult to prove this is popular and it's working for a start. Education takes 5 or 6 years to show if the reforms work or not. You've got the negatives, the positives are some years down the road. So doesn't it? Can you not see David? You may not agree with it, but can you not see the logic? This isn't a retreat from radicalism. It's simply focusing on the radicalism that is easier to persuade the public.
Well, I can see the thinking, but I think it's mistaken, because I think what people are looking for in all of this is leadership, and also concern about major social issues. And if Cameron has believed in this schools policy, which he says he has, then he should double up on that, not back away from it. And also in electoral terms, I think there's a massive gap here, which is very much to the point in the sacking of Owen Paterson. The reason that UKIP is so strong is that there's a huge disillusionment among people who are rural, people who are white males, who are fed up with being insulted simply for being white males, people who work in the private sector, and people who don't like the dominance of sort of politically correct London opinion, and people who are Eurosceptic. And the only person in the Conservative government who absolutely tapped into all of those factors is Owen Paterson. He's the only chap who's never had any career in London at all, except as a politician. He's a private sector northern businessman. He knows the countryside very well. He's a true Eurosceptic, as opposed to a sort of fair weather Eurosceptic that some of these recent appointments are. And actually, this could have been a sort of encapsulated message to UKIP voters from David Cameron, saying, "Go on, vote UKIP." You know, he's got this one sort of bulwark against all that, Paterson, and he's thrown him out.
But we have in Philip Hammond a more Eurosceptic foreign secretary than William Hague was. We've seen the departure of two Europhiles, Ken Clarke and Dominic Grieve, the Attorney General. So Labour certainly regards this as a move to the right, a reshuffle.
Yes, and I don't believe that, because I don't think Philip Hammond has very strong views on the subject. He's basically a moderate right winger, but he has no record on the European subject apart from one or two remarks. William Hague was a great Eurosceptic before he became Foreign Secretary, and it made very little difference. You know, what you have to, Euroscepticism only means something if you actually try to bring about specific changes, particularly legal, institutional changes.